So in today's Pilates mat class, we will be using the fascia, some fascia release work to set the body so it's more optimized to do the exercises the right way or at a higher level. This is not something that we ever arrive and then we're like taken care of. It's more like the maintenance and allowing us to keep removing overworked patterns so we can up level the level of our physiology, really our relationship to gravity, actually way beyond Pilates and yoga and anything else. It's like gravity is a force that is a permanent element for everything in a physical form. So we will start with what's called the tensor fascia latte, TFL. Now, you can work with a tune-up ball. I think, Annie, those are the ones you have. You can work with a black ball. You can work with a lacrosse ball. Fundamentally, the smaller the ball, the harder the ball, the more intense this work is. Oh gosh, my dog. If you keep talking, I'm letting him out. I'm so sorry. Wally, you gotta get out. Here we go. Come on. Out you go. Go. Go, 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 go. Okay. So this is a small, in a lot of anatomy books, it's considered a small muscle. I'll explain what I mean for a minute. If you feel for the top of your pelvis, the pelvic structure, and you know, you have those two, the ASIS, the area that we call the hip bones that bulge out in front. If you move just off to the side of that, if you went down, you'd be in the fleshy part of the abdomen and the groin. This area, from here, it's a very strong muscle group that goes down and connects to the hip. Now, that band can hike this bone up. It gets very, very tight when we sit a lot, which is now a chronic level. It can pull the pelvis into a wrong position. It's one of the hip flexors. It's involved with pulling the leg forward and sideways. So, where is my picture ball? What you want to do is kind of feel around for where the hip bone is in your own body. Whichever ball you are working with, lie onto that side. It's a very key one also to free the movement of the legs so that they are moving without gripping into the pelvis, and also for balance when you lift to one side. It's also one hip can be hiked up because of this muscle. Once you've found a place, hopefully high, you want to settle down into it so you start to sink into the ball. And I'm just adjusting my camera a little bit more so I see what I'm showing. Right. So once you're into the ball, you want to move around until you find a pocket of muscle on the side that's really, really dense and tight. And it's a fibrous, strong muscle, but it can get really stuck to the bone. So we want to find that place and start to sink into it. Now, this leg that's on the ground, because it tends to pull the legs forward, a pandemic of the modern civilization, because we sit, you want to extend the leg, make sure it's going straight down, up right there, and then even work it backwards a little bit without your back arching. So you want to be aware that you're working it from the hips. So you're allowing that leg to be worked long. And now you can work a little bit forward and backwards. It's a small, small area of fibrous tissue. You are looking for where you're tight because there will be segments that are pulling more. Now, move a little bit further up with your body. So I've moved up towards my head, down. So you probably are starting to feel the top of your hip bone, the thigh bone, I should say. And the idea is that you're moving that part down. You're pushing it down to create more length. So just move back and forth. See if you can find a pocket that's really dense and tight and sink into it. And now very slowly, see if you can float this knee forward. You'll probably start to feel where the grippiness is and find a spot that you're gripping a lot. Sink. I just released. Move the knee a little bit further up if you can. Sink. This can be it can really free up the legs and sink. Extend the leg out again. See if you can get that full length. Just slow movement back and forth across the tissue. See if you can find an area that's grippy and just work the leg a little bit back to stretch that tissue out even more. Sink in a little further. And then roll off. So most anatomy books consider it a small one. Every so often it connects into your IT band. I've seen it in one book where it's extended long. We're working with the short version. So get onto the other side, find your hip, find that area, just wiggle around. So we're basically moving from the top to the bottom of this side plane. And I almost think of it as a little bit of a triangular area that I'm searching for. So get into the tight aspect of this muscle. You can have the other leg bent in any way. See how much you can sink in. Check this leg that's underneath you. Is it going straight down or is it naturally pulling forward? So our start position is wanting to get this side of the pelvis really lengthened out as much as you can. If you find a tight spot, again, see if you can let go. It can take a minute, 2 minutes for that tissue to start to shift gears. I'm extending my bottom leg even a little bit further back now that I can feel the tissue releasing a bit. And very slightly, you can roll forward and backwards or a little bit, move the pelvis to really uncover where there's a holding patterns for you. Now, let's do this slowly, pulling the knee upwards. Looking to sink into any spot, pause anywhere where you feel it's tight. I sometimes get almost an achy feeling when I work into this area. And then a huge opening as the tissue lets go of the grippiness. Extending out. On this side, I can literally feel the hips start to release out of the pelvis. Again, rolling a little bit further. Out. And then roll a little bit further down. So you're pushing the hip downwards. You're wanting to encourage it to be less gripped up. Again, rolling, slight movements forward and back. Sinking in. Checking that you can take the leg even further back to open the hip flexor aspect, which is this whole front part, which gets tight for most of us. Oh no. Stay right where you are. Forgive me for that. Whoops. I've lost the camera, but I know you can see me. Here we go. The joys of knowing what to do. So you're down towards the bottom of this shaft again. We'll take this knee up and down. and roll off. We'll come on up. And our next one is the glute medius, which is from the top of the pelvis. If you felt right off to the bony part of your pelvis, and then move down. You're kind of halfway between the front, the side, and the back. Move down a little bit, and you're going to start to feel an area that's fleshy, and that's the beginning of the glute medius. So you want to get into there, and then move down on the side. So the way we'll do it today, we're going to get the ball up here, and first kind of lay into it, and then let the knee drop to the side and get on top. So you can weigh it right into the ball and then lengthen yourself out. And again, you are going to go forward and backward really slowly. Now, if you're sitting a lot, sometimes the glutes get locked up, you could say, and this gets overworked. And the glute maximus is underworked and dropping. So we want to get this grippiness out of this muscle. So I'm just doing micro movements forward and back in this top area. You can see. You can also roll a little bit with your pelvis. So notice the angle is long. I'm not too curled up. Roll down a little bit. So you're kind of matching where the TFL, the last muscle we did was, but a little bit further back. Just kind of not on the side exactly, but the beginning of your bottom on the side. And again, micro movements. You're going to feel those little knotted areas. You want to get into them. Once you found a nice tight spot, sink. See if you can just take a moment to allow it to penetrate into that area. So those get very grippy. The reason we're releasing them is so when we do our Pilates practice, the legs are more free and then the abdomen can connect up and support without all of this tight grippiness taking over too much. I mean, it's a function of leg movement, but it's most often overactivated, and the whole abdominal and lower back support is underactivated. And we want to kind of rebalance and re-challenge ourselves in a more appropriate way. So move a little bit further down the same shaft, down the side. It's like you're riding the side of your glutes towards your thigh. You may even be starting to feel where the thigh bone is. So that's kind of where they all connect in. Roll off, and we'll do the other side. So, finding the top. So I'm at the top of my pelvis, almost on the side. I'm finding where I can get my thigh down. And then I'm lying down into it and using the weight of my body to sink in. Now, if you have a very archy back, just pay attention to that and see if you can keep your spine long, because part of the archiness is these tight muscles. They pull into the lower back a lot. So see if you can keep, I don't want to say a posterior tilt where you're tucking, but I want you to imagine that part of your lower, from your waist down, very long, and then searching for these muscles. And you probably will feel that they're more grippy. So you just want length. Everything is long. The more we can access the length of the skeleton in an intelligent way, then we can repattern our muscle structures and develop more freedom, more flow, just slow movement back and forth. Move down a little bit. This is where I'd like to sing. Working that area. releasing it out so the glutes can be glutes and the legs can be legs and the abs can be abs. So it never looks like a lot is going on. And if you've got those nice, tight, hardened muscles, also what happens is they get very dry. They get locked into the bone and they get over tight and over dry, like a sponge that's too dry. And when you're sinking into that area deeply and hopefully getting as right up to where the real intense dryness is, which is painful, when you come off, there's a huge amount of flush of fluids and liquid. So you get water rushing in and hydrating the muscle at a very deep level. So I was just learning that a lot of us, we're too watery on the surface and too dry close up to the bone. And this is reversing that pattern and restoring the balance of fluids. So I know we all try to hydrate, but we want to, this is helping the process. Oh, I just got a lovely release. So I'm gradually pulling the ball downwards as I'm moving up. Let's come off the ball. And the other area we'll work right now before we start is the area between your hip and your rib, which is where your obliques are. They're part of the abdominal area. Very often this is a very tight area for people. Sometimes people say, oh, I don't have much of a distance between my hips and my pelvis. So this one, you will ideally want a smallish ball. You can walk with a black ball, but basically I'm going to lay the ball. You could work, it depends upon the distance, to be honest. Oh my God, I would actually like a slightly bigger ball. But if you've got only a black ball and it's the only one you've got, that's fine. Be careful of putting too much intense hard pressure on the ribs. That's the only modifier you want. But you want to get into this area, separate the ribs and the hips as much as you can. If anything, air by pushing the ball into the pelvis, top of the pelvic bone, and see if you can sink into it. Very tight, can get very pulley. God, that's a new word. It can pull a lot. And micro movements forward and backwards. Sometimes if you start to roll just a little bit back, you're going to find where there is a tightness along the ridge of the top of the pelvis. So you want to just sink into that. So again, we're looking to create a very long trunk and long lumbar spine, which is the area that's least supported in the back. That's where our, from traditional Pilates viewpoint, is the powerhouse. And the more real thing is that we're looking to organize the upper body, lower body, so the limbs float, they don't jar into the joints, and we have comfort and grace in how we move, and as much as possible, a symmetry, which none of us will be perfectly so. There's always differences, but it's about comfort and balance within the body as a moving organism, always influenced by gravity. Also, the reason you want these movements to be slow is that the texture of the fascia can be either fibrous or taffy-like. And very often if we move too fast or we stretch too fast, so let's say if I was to move my legs down quickly, we miss accessing the taffy extension. It's kind of like hard, cold taffy, and we want to slowly warm it up and get it more elastic. If we move too fast, we dehydrate further. We don't hydrate and stretch. So very slightly, I'm moving backwards. It's as though I'm rolling on my back, but not really. And then come on off, and we'll do the same on the other side. So remember, I'm being very attentive to focus in on the top of the pelvis, extending the ribs away so the ribs are draping above. And at first start, if you can, right on your side. So you get that opening of the pelvis separating it. And if the muscles will start to give, the ball will sink in there. So it's that area and aspect of the waist. Check to see what's happening with your pelvis in relation to your ribs. Let's say I'm going to stretch my legs out. So conceptually, I'm in a straight line. And see if I can sink even further. Because what happens is an embryonic position or curled or sitting is, of course, a shortening of the front body. And nothing wrong with that conceptually, but if it's over habituated, the muscle is never fully extended. We want the full language. Oh, and then I basically rolled a little tiny bit forward, checking into that area. I can feel a huge pull in my back as I do this. And then rolling a little tiny bit back. On this side, the rolling forward was very key for me, and rolling back less intense. On the other side, it was a rolling back that really gave me a lot of communication. Just find those spots. It's very personal. It can change. Our body is always changing. The more we just take time to maintain and remain aware and integrated with our body, the better quality of relationship we have, and more of a co-creator, you could say, with whatever this body is allowing. Oh, there's a huge release I just had. It's such a nice feeling when you get those moments where the muscle just goes, oh, okay, I'm gonna go. Literally my left side, which gets tight, opened up. How nice. Okay, off of here. Lovely. Now on your backs. So let's lie on our backs. See how long you can make your spinal column feel on the floor. Now also check, because you're not necessarily looking to get the back down by doing this movement. It's called a posterior tilt. You want to see if you can get it because you're just long, and it keeps opening up, and we want that length. It's very good for us. So from here with the knees bent, you want to see now, can you tubularize and feel the shaft from the ribs to the hips? So remember, I'm not tucking. This is a shortening. This is like a dog with a tail between the legs. Now the spinal column is long, and I'm really working this whole area. So without anything changing, lift your right foot, put it back down, keeping this integrity the whole time. Can you float the knee up? In fact, double check the muscles here. They work a little bit, but you don't want them to work a lot. If you can deactivate them or minimally engage them. I don't think it's ever possible to lift and lower without any tightening of this cord here. But if you can have it softer and this is firm, good for you. Reorganize your spine, because the more you work the abdominal area, the longer and more locked it gets. You want that locking feeling. One knee up and one knee up. Just hold this position. Can you feel from the ribs all the way to the lower abdominals that the trunk is working? Down and down. And repeating that, up and up and down and down and up and up and down and down. Now reversing it, and up and down and down, up and up and down and down. One more time, up and up and down and down. Very good. I'm lengthening my spine even more because it keeps giving in and releasing even further. Again, getting that integrity of the whole front body. Both knees float up. There should be no shift in the shape. Both legs float down. Both legs float up. Both legs float down. Both legs float up. And both legs float down. Now, arms to the ceiling. Find that integrity and stability in the center and take the arms back. Now, as you take the arms back today, keep the shoulders away from the ears. So we're just stabilizing the trunk. Bring the arms up. So you want that sense of the armpits connecting to the waist, the stability in the center, and the arms go back. And up, and back, and up. Now lift. So when you lift, today we're going to lift straight to the ceiling and down. So the head just floats, so we really get that front connection. And we keep the armpits connected to the ribs. One more time like this. Lift. I'm hoping you feel how the upper rib, the lower rib cage works. Now adding the knees. Lift. Down. Lift. Down. Lift. Down. One more time like this. Lift. And down. Now, arms come back over the head. Find that connection. Check that you're not tucking. Can you take one leg and slide it out? See if you can get that length in the hip without any change in the pelvis. So if the quads are very tight and grippy, that will pull. Slide the leg back. Hopefully the legs are just gliding. Slide the other leg out. It should float out of the socket and create length. And back. First leg again, sliding it. The pelvis should stay very long. And back. And the other side, long. And back. Now bring yourself up to a seated position. And holding behind the knees, this is the area we want to get into now. So can you, actually we're going to go into a cat-cow first, just to really make this point. So normally when we do cat-cow, we make a lot of curve in the rib cage and a little curve in here. So just to isolate that lumbar spine or the waist area, can you curl just that area and back again? So it's not a big movement. And notice that your abdominals have to work quite a bit to create this movement. Now you can add your buttocks, but I'd rather see if you can really get the trunk without the glutes working a lot and the kind of grippy, bigger muscles working. Can you isolate that mid area of the lower back? Really curl into that area if you can. One more time like this. That really get that area to work. So notice the upper back's not doing a whole lot. And back. So now we're going to apply that in the roll back. So sitting tall, can you get that area to curl? It's fine to roll back some. And notice how much those lower abs and middle abs probably kick in. Bring yourself back up. And again, getting them to kick in. And up. And this time we'll roll to the floor. So can you get that area? Now, there's some pelvic tilt, but you really want to see if you can get the sacrum and the waist down from using those muscles before the rest of the spine hits. Then roll up again and see if you can replicate that. So that whole one curl at a time. Really hard to do the right way, Can you get that articulation in that low part of the back without a severe pelvic tilt? That's really the challenge. Not the pelvic tilt making it happen, but that working of those low spinal muscles or vertebra, which are sometimes very tight. One more time. Can you get them to work and lengthen out? There we go. And roll up again. Now with the legs long, the feet will be gently flexed. Same thing. You can have your hands in front. You can have them down. I'd like to see if you can get, so the glutes, you don't want to tighten them. You actually want to roll through and feel the skeleton structure. So the front trunk is doing all the work. Let's take the arms over the head. Bring the arms up. And can you retrace? And just for a minute, give yourself a stretch. And again, rolling down. Back. And rolling up. One more time, rolling down. Back. And rolling up. Now, coming back down to the floor with the knees bent. Here we are. Just adjusting a little something here for me. Okay. With the knees bent, get that spine very long and get your heels up. And just for a minute, push up towards the head. Check your hamstrings. Now push the heels away and check your hamstrings. So we're now working into what's called the back chain of the body, because we want to get, the front and the back interconnected. From here, can you lift the hips just a little bit? Check your hamstrings, check your glutes. Are they working? And you want to get this tail nice and long between the hips, lower back down. So we're just doing some bridging to make sure that lower body parts are activating and kind of wrapping around to the bone. And down. And again, pressing the heels away, lifting the hips. And long. 2 more times like this. Getting that back part of the body to work without shortening. The big thing is you don't want a shortening in the lower back. You really want that nice long flat spine or long spine, so you're not arching there and you're creating what would later be very important for extension. And down. Very good. Bring your knees into your chest just for a minute to release them. And now extend the legs out. So can you get that nice long position? In fact, let's repeat this. You want the long spine, slight stability here. One leg goes out. Can you extend right from the hip flexor without shortening or tightening? Double check that you're really reaching this leg and then bring it back. Do the same with the other leg. Really reaching the leg out so it's floating away from you, but you haven't lost the integrity in the center. Now both legs at the same time. So maybe for me, the left leg, it's hard for me to get it straight because it has a tendency to pull. So I know I need more work into here. Keeping this nice length, lift one leg up. So you may have to bend the knee to get it up without losing this length. Do whatever works. Do not lose the foundation in 5 circles around the socket. As big or as small a circuit as you want. Keep this leg long and keep your back long. 2, 3, 4, 5. Bend the knee in for a minute. Keep that integrity and give it a stretch. Keep that integrity, give it a stretch. Float the leg down. Reconnect to your base. Lift your other leg up. Soften the knee if you need to. Now the leg that's on the floor is the important one. 5 circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Reverse it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bend the knee in. Bring it in as far as it works for you. So again, the integrity of the trunk and the hips is more important than the range of movement today. And extend again. Slowly float the leg down. Rolling up for rolling like a ball. Nice long body. Peel yourself up and knees bent. So remember that little tiny area, that mini cat-cow we were doing? That's the part we want to find. So see if you can avoid collapsing into the upper back. Can you find this integrity? So let's see if you can get this back long. Lift 1 foot, down and down. Reverse it. 1 foot, down and down. Check. Are you still in the lower abs and not in the upper ribs? Down and down, and reverse it, and up and down and down. Now this is where you can have your hand here, I don't care where the hands are. You keep the shape in the roll. Can you keep the shape? Here we go. We're going to roll back, roll up. Keep the shape. Roll back again. Roll up. Again. Roll back. And up. Again. Roll. Up. One more time. Roll. And up. Roll back down onto your backs. Lengthen the legs out again. Really focus on getting these hip flexors long and open so that there's this nice length in the front body. From here, bend both knees on the floor. Reconnect to the stomach and bring your knees in towards your chest with single leg stretches. So today, curl up and we'll, without hands, we're actually starting from tabletop. I apologize. And you're going to do a push-pull in this position, looking to see if you can hold the whole weight of the legs from the abdominals. So the legs are floating, not too much gripping in there. So you're really making that lower back be supported. Drop your head down. Bring your knees further in and just rock side to side. Curl up again for double leg stretches. Extend and in. Extend. High twilight and in. Extend and in. Extend and in. One more time like this. Extend and in. Drop your head down and lift your legs to the ceiling. Reconnect. Your arms are going to stay by your side and your head is going to stay down. We're going to scissor without hands today. So just get a sense of these legs floating and the back is stable. So you can do as big or as small a movement as you feel you can make the legs do without violating the base trunk shape. Bend your knees in, feet down, and hands behind your head for your lower lift. So bring the legs up to tabletop, curl, and then lift the legs up. Without losing the front trunk, float the legs away from you. Bring them up, float them away. Bring them up, float them away. Bring them up, float them away. Bring them up. One more time like this, float them away. And bring them up and bring the knees in. Now, just to add a little bit to this, just to unwind some of this tightening and real intense focus, I'd like the arms up by above your head. This is just the process of rolling from front to back. So I'd like you to take one arm up, cross it. First movement, you're just going to reach as far as you can without your hips coming off. Reach, 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 and back. Take your other arm up and reach across, lift your head and pull as much as you can. So there's like a wrapping. One more time. So the hand comes up, the head lifts, and you pull across. The hips stay down. Other side, up, lift and reach. And down. Now we'll do this and keep going. So as you reach, see if you can keep going till you roll down. Then lift your head, lift your arm, and see if you can roll back. Lift your hand, lift your head, pull yourself over. Lift your hand, lift your head, and roll back, just to undo some of the tightening that we did. Now we'll do the same thing with the legs. So the arms are over the head, one leg lifts, take it as far over as you can without the shoulders coming off. And back. Whoa, other side. Up and over. Without the shoulders coming off. One more time, the leg comes up. Let the hip roll. And back. And then the other leg up. Let the hip roll. And back. Now we'll do the full roll, but it's coming. Now, the shoulders will be the last to leave the floor. That's the tricky part. Take it over. Reluctantly, let yourself roll. Now lift your leg back and let the shoulders be the last thing to bring you back. Other side lift. The shoulders are the last thing to get you over. Lift your leg, pull it across, and the shoulders are the last thing to bring you back. So we basically unwound a lot of the tightening patterns we just did. So nice and long, roll yourself up. Spine stretch forward. We're back to mobilizing this very small part of the lower back where we can get, a lot goes on there. Let's put it this way. So sitting as tall as you can. Let's start with the hands down as we're approaching this from a place of basics. Can you get that area to move back and then lift? Move that area back a little bit and then lift. Again, the spine moves back a little bit and lift. One more time, the spine moves back and then lift. Now we'll take the spine moving back and see if you can hinge forward with that shape. So it's not a big movement, but it's a very important one because it's going to get parts of the back that for a lot of people get very tight. And we're really taking just those vertebrae of the lower back. Forward. And lift one more time. That pulls back, hinging, giving yourself a stretch, and come back up. Open leg rocker using just those regulations. So bending the knees. Oh gosh. I had my cell phone lined up against a little tiny heater, so now it's overheated. I don't know what the time is. So here's your lower back. Can you keep that? Find the angle and up you go. Now 5 times back and forth, or as many times as you can you keep that shape. That's your focus today. Getting that lower back to give up. Whoops. And are you doing it from the lower back, or are you doing it from the pelvis? That's the trick. Where are you taking the control of that area from? So if you can really isolate those 2 areas, or that one area, so you're focusing in the lower back muscle structure and the low abs, you're really doing great. Bring the legs down. Holding the ankles, again, lifting up. See if you can extend one leg without losing it. And back. Extend the other leg without losing it. And back. First leg. And back. Other leg. And back. Both legs at the same time. Let go. Bring the legs together and walk down your legs. So here we go. Can you get the lower part of the back to articulate properly? Legs are up. Your spine should be flat, and we'll do the small version of the corkscrew where you circle the legs around the sacrum and notice the muscles that are working. Reverse. See if you can keep the whole lower back down from the stomach and waist area rather than because you're tucking. One more set. Now, recommit and lower the legs. Float them down, float them down, float them down, float them down, float them down. The arms extend out and roll up to a seated position. And open the legs a little bit wider than your mat, or actually we're going to open up the side ribs. So nice and lifted, I'll turn this way. I'm rotating to the left. Get the ribs open, but don't let yourself arch to get this. So you can get a long back. Now this is the trick. Can you get a lift in the diaphragm anyway? So the whole rib cage is lifted, but not because you're shortening in the lower back. Rotate and towards the knee to open up the side ribs. Back, rotate, open up the side ribs. And back, twist, 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 side ribs. And back. Going into the saw. So recommit to that long back. So it may even feel as though you're leaning backwards. There's a slight arch. Now I'm strengthening these muscles, but I'm contracting a little bit. Now I'm flat. So, and then I get the lift in this whole upper rib cage as best you can. One side now, as we go forward today, actually put the hands down. Same feeling like the stomach, spine stretch forward. Slide your hands forward, keeping that lower back long. So let's go to the middle. Find that area and just bend forward. Feel that stretch. Now, other side. Find that area and hinge. and back. Center. Find that lower ab area. Hinge. And up. Twist. Hinge. And up. Center. Hinge. And up. So we're really working to stimulate all the muscles of the trunk to become longer and longer and lengthen out the spinal column. One more set to the middle, hinge, and to the other side and hinge. I believe we are straight. Now, we will roll onto our backs. Get your balls back because we're going to open up the quads and the hip flexors for single leg kicks. So, black ball is good. We're going to do one hip at a time. Gold ball is good. Stronger, harder balls are good. Remember, the harder the ball is, the more intense it is. I'm actually working with a medicine ball. I think it's called a medicine ball or whatever it is, but it's a strong surface. Sometimes I work with something like this. I'm finding that the stronger positions are more effective at this point for me. So I'm putting this under one hip and bending the other leg up. Now this is a thing. Do you notice how my back wants to arch? I want to keep my back straight and the pelvis as much as possible parallel to the floor. Get in touch with the leg that's extended back. Is it the knee going in, going out? You want in an ideal today to have it straight. Really watch this to see if you can get this whole front support kicking in for you. So we're on the hip bone and the ball is pushing into there, and then from there you will move under the hip bone into the groin area. So you're still on your pelvis, and now can you float this leg up a little bit? So I've got my toes curled under, and then I'm lifting it. Now the trick is not to lift by doing that, because you're actually then getting an apparency but not the result of the muscle of the hip flexor releasing. Then pull yourself a little bit further forward. So now I'm on top of my thigh, right at the top, low groin into the top of the quad. Recheck your lower back. Is it working properly? And sink into that tissue that can get like to be really, really tight. The rectus femoris can get very tight, very grippy. We want to imagine it starting to release and melt. Eventually, you should be able to sink through that muscle to the bone, and it should lengthen away from the groin areas so the leg can flex. If you can, lift the foot up in the air. And if you can, very slowly start bending your leg. So if the muscle is tight, it won't open. You're using the pressure into the ball to encourage that muscle to release that grip. So, because again, it gets overworked, overcontracted, and it starts to pull the skeletal into less than ideal shape. So we want that muscle long so the back chain of the body can start to fire more effectively. So just slowly bend the knee, check that your lower back is not giving in. If you find a pocket of area that's really, really tight, just stop and visit yourself right there. Depending upon what you're feeling, you will know, move half an inch lower. Recommit to your lower back being long. Check to see if you can keep your both hip bones parallel to the floor. That's the ideal. Check to see if your knee is turned in or turned out. And again, just if you can, bend and straighten the leg a few times. One more time. And just to encourage the shaft of the muscle to be long, you'll roll all the way through the muscle, up to the knee, and then come off, and we'll do the same thing with the other side. So I'm starting with the ball right at my hip bone, at this front area right here. Bending the other leg out to the side, if possible, to help the hips stay square. Checking the lower back that it's not dropped in, but staying long, so that we're controlling the spine so it's not compromised, so it throws all the work into the joints of the pelvis. Then, if you're very tight, it's the nice way to start is to work with the toes curled under. And then from the hip bone, move down into the groin area. So now we're at the beginning of really being inside the hip flexor world, you could say, that world that gets very tight for many of us. And see if you can lift and lower the leg and allow that muscle to lengthen rather than shorten. Then roll down to the very top of the groove of your quad. So I'm at the top of my leg, rechecking my lower back area that it's not dropped. And then lifting the leg up, and very slowly, unless you're so tight that you just want to hang out here, bending and stretching the leg. To encourage this muscle to remember that it can shorten and lengthen. So think of it that as the leg is bending, really your hamstring should be the muscle that's pulling this shape, and the quad is releasing. If there's a lot of resistance going on, it's over dominant as a muscle group. Most of us are frontally over dominant. Then roll another inch down so you're more into the full shaft of the muscle. Let it sink. Sometimes you can feel there's a moment where the muscle completely gives in. And again, back and forth. Keep checking to sink into the muscle. Sometimes it's also useful just to hang out and concentrate on releasing it, and you can feel it actually give. And then roll yourself down that muscle towards the knee, just to work all of the tissue out. And come off and onto your stomachs now for single leg kicks. So we've opened up this area, and let me double check on your stomachs. So in this position, get as much length into your lower back as you can. And then can you lift up? Now, when you lift, you want to avoid this if possible today. You want this length. Most importantly, wiggle your legs to get that long hip flexor if you can. You're looking to get it nice and long. Whoa, I'm cramping now. And if possible, the legs going straight down. So keep the length of the back. So there should be an even arc of the spine. Take one foot. Oh, I'm just cramping, but kick, and lengthen out. Other foot, kick, and down. First leg. There we go. The muscles reorganized. Kick, and down. Kick, and down. Kick, and down. Kick, and down. One more time, kick, kick, and down. Now, double leg stretches. So actually, let's stay up for a minute and bend both knees at the same time. So watch your lower back. A lot of people, they literally can't get the knees, feet in very far. So just be honest of where you can before the tail starts curling up and shortening. Because we want the lengthening of the quads to be the factor. Take the legs down. Again, lengthen those quads to bring the leg in. Kick, kick. And down. Again, kick, kick. And down. One more time like this. Kick, kick. And down. Now, hands behind your waist with your elbows down. Lift the elbows up. Keep your lower back long and open your chest. Turn your head the other way, lower down. So this is all upper body. Lift, open the chest. And down. First side again. Lift, open the chest. And down. Other side, lift, open the chest. Keeping the lower back long and down. Now adding the feet. The lower back should stay very long. Kick, kick, kick. And open the chest. So we're starting to add the whole trunk muscle stability. Kick, kick, kick. Long. And first side. Kick, kick, kick. Long. Other side. Kick, kick, kick. Long. First side. Kick, kick, kick. Long. Last side. Kick, kick, kick. Long. Very good. Sitting into your heels, stretch your backs out. Come onto your hands and knees. So we are going to come back. We're going into plank, but we will revisit this cat-cow. So we connect. How can you get your lower back long? And notice there's a big difference between that and tucking. Really doing a posterior pelvic tilt. Two different movements. They're so close. They can be misconstrued as the same movement, but we don't want that. So find this place where you're connected and you're lifted up in this whole shafted area. Now, we're going into our balance control front plank. The weight shifts towards the knuckles. So I'm just a little bit more on my arms. So I have my body weights on my arms. Take your right leg back. Nothing should change. So there's this very strong lift. Other side back. Very strong lift in the center of your back. In your lower back. Bend the knee. Bend the knee. Reversing it. Back. Back. Hold your lower back very stable and long. Bend and bend. First side again. Long and long. Hold. Bend and bend. Reverse it. Long and long. Hold. Bend and bend. Stretch back. And now into chest expansion. So chest expansion is very similar to double leg stretches in a sense. So this is the thing. For me, sometimes it takes a bit to get the pelvis stacked up properly so the lower back is long. So you're working to get as much of the lower back lengthened. It's not the lower glutes. That's the trick part that I'm hoping you can get. And now more importantly than that is this sense of once you have the lower back supported, it kicks in the abs and then you get this length kicking in. So the very vertical upward swing of the body. The arms come down, Do not lose the shape. Now just pull the shoulders back. And see how much you can push back and open the chest without compromising the spine. And back. Again, down, lifting the front chest area and opening without arching in the lower back. And back. Again, pull, opening the chest without arching the lower back. And release. Again, pull, opening, and releasing. One more time. Pull, opening, keeping that lower back very, very long. And back. Very good. Sitting back and lifting into a front balance control. So hands up beside you, a little bit behind your hips. We're going to have the knees bent to begin with, and the hands are slightly out. When the hands are out, it's easier to keep the collarbones and the chest open. The hands can be a little wider than the hips. Lift the hips. Now, this is what can happen. Can you get the hips to lift and just rock forward and backwards a few times to see where you're taking the weight? Bring the hips down. We're going to do this again. Keep the chest open. Lift the hips up. Can you lengthen the quads? Find your balance. Forward and back. And down. Again, roll and lift. Lift, lift, lift. Forward and back. And down. From here, you will lift with the legs straight, so it's the next level of intensity. So slightly back, long lower back, press into the heels. Can you make the hamstrings and the glutes lift you, not the archy back? Come back down. Ah, do it again. I've got a cramp. Oh, God. Yes. And again, lifting. Okay, up you go. Lift. And down. And again, and lift. Make sure the lower back is long and the heels are pressing down. And back. Very good. Now feet together, neck pull. So here we are, the legs, the back is long. Can you get that support into this pelvis up to the base of the ribs? Nice and long. Bring your head in and hinge, keeping that area long. So we're focusing on the full spectrum of the spine. Lift and articulate down. Can you get that area to work? Roll up. Find that lower back area, hinge. Lift and roll down. One more time. Roll up, hinge, and roll down. All right, rolling onto your right side for, what's the time? Okay, maybe not, teaser. So on your backs, you want to find that connection again, and one knee is up and long. Lift your head and chest. Can you roll up evenly? Roll down evenly. Get that lower back to do the articulation. If it can, those areas right in that lower abdominal to work. One more time. Change sides. Again. Lift. And down. Lift. And down. Lift. Coming up, I have to say there's about 2 or 3 vertebrae in my own back. I've never worked. I always thought I did, but I never did. It's been a revelation and an eye-opening thing for me to realize why I had certain difficulty in certain technique and kind of how I'd work my physiology. It's a fun thing with being aware when you work. It's always so interesting to figure things out. So long legs, we're going down. You can work without your hands. You can use your hands if you need to articulate through the spine. Can you come up the same way? So I'm keeping my knees a little bit bent because I just can't do it with my left leg straight. Again, down you go. You can work it without hands if you can make support the right way. And one more time, rolling down. And rolling up. All right, okay, seal 5 times, and which way you want to, make it feel good for yourself. Hands inside, clap, 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 and we clap at the back as well. Rock, clap, 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 up, clap, 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 back, clap, 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 up, clap, 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 back, clap, 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 up, clap, 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 back, clap, 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 up. Last one, clap, 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 back, clap, 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 and up. Very good, everybody. I hope you felt your abs today and your lower back and perhaps got some nice